Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to discuss NCERT 8th Standard History 3rd lesson, Rolling the Countryside Part 2. In last video, we had a discussion on permanent settlement, Mahalwadi system, Rayatwadi system, etc. Within a few years after the new systems were imposed, it was clear that all was not well with them. The British realized that the countryside could not only yield revenue, it could also grow the crops that Europe required. Now let's see the topic, crops for Europe. By the mid 18th century, the East India Company had acquired territories in South India, Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, etc. The company was interested in promoting a controlled commercialization of agriculture in order to provide commodities for the Western markets. The crops on which the company concentrated were indigo, cotton, raw silk, opium, pepper, tea and sugar. The British used a variety of methods to expand the cultivation of crops that they needed. Let's take a closer look at the story of one such crop. What is that crop? That is indigo. Indigo plant grows primarily in the tropics. Indian indigo was being used by cloth manufacturers in Italy, France and Britain to dye clothes. Indigo, a blue dye extracted from a tropical plant used to color textiles, was in demand in Britain. During 19th century, India was the biggest supplier of indigo in the world. However, only small amounts of Indian indigo reached the European market and its price was very high. So, European cloth manufacturers therefore had to depend on another plant, that is called woad, to make violet and blue dyes. But the cloth manufacturers favored indigo against the woad plant because indigo produced a rich blue color, whereas the dye from the woad was pale and dull. Till the 1790s, much of the western supply had come from the Caribbean colonies, but then production declined and Indian indigo found a growing market. By the end of the 18th century, the demand for Indian indigo grew further. Britain began to industrialize and its cotton production expanded dramatically, creating an enormous new demand for cloth dyes. The demand for indigo was rising day by day in Europe. Therefore, the company decided to expand indigo cultivation in India. From the last decades of the 18th century, indigo cultivation in Bengal expanded rapidly and Bengal indigo came to dominate the world market. Bengal was the largest exporter of indigo to Britain. In 1810, about 95% of the indigo imported by Britain was from Bengal. As the indigo trade grew, many of the commercial agents and company officials started investing in the indigo business. European indigo planters forced Indian peasants to cultivate the plant on their lands and deliver it to the factory at a fixed price. There were two main systems of indigo cultivation, niche cultivation and Rayoti. Niche and Rayoti system. What is niche cultivation of indigo? Within the system of niche cultivation, the planter produced indigo in lands that he directly controlled. Under the niche system, the planter produced indigo on the land which was under his control. Either he was the owner of the land or he had rented it for indigo cultivation. Indigo could be cultivated only on fertile lands and these were all already densely populated. Only small plots scattered over the landscape could be acquired. Planters needed large areas in compact blocks to cultivate indigo in plantations. The niche cultivators found it difficult to grow indigo as it required a large fertile area which was not easily available as most of the land was densely populated. Even laborers were not available sometimes as they were busy with the rice cultivation. So, under this there were some problems for this niche cultivation. The planters found it difficult to expand the area under niche cultivation. They attempted to lease in the land around the indigo factory and evict the peasants from the area. There was another problem also. A large plantation required a vast number of hands to operate. That is, the large plantation needed lot of workers and labor was needed precisely at a time when peasants were usually busy with their rice cultivation. Niche cultivation on a large scale also required many plows and bullocks. Investing on purchase and maintenance of plows was a big problem. Till the late 19th century, planters were therefore reluctant to expand the area under niche cultivation. Now let's see the Rioti system. Under the Rioti system, the planters forced the ryots to sign a contract or an agreement that is called satam. At times they pressurized the village headmen to sign the contract on behalf of the ryots. Under the Rioti system, the planters entered into contract with ryots or village headmen, sometimes forcibly. According to the contract, 25% of the land was exclusively kept for the cultivation of indigo and loans were provided for its cultivation. The planter used to provide the seeds and drill to the farmer and he in return had to take care of the plants. But soon the riots realized that this system was not an easy one because they got trapped in the cycle of loans which were unending and the income they received through indigo plantation was also less. Even the fertility of the land deteriorated. The land became unfit for the growth of rice after the cultivation of indigo. The planters usually insisted that indigo be cultivated on the best soils in which peasants preferred to cultivate rice. Indigo had deep root and it exhausted the soil rapidly. After an indigo harvest, the land could not be sown with rice. So, there was a rebellion related to this indigo cultivation that is called Blue Rebellion. In March 1859, thousands of ryots in Bengal refused to grow indigo. As the rebellion spread, ryots refused to pay rents to the planters and attacked indigo factories armed with swords, spears, bows and arrows. In Bengal, in March 1859, with thousands of ryots started a rebellion against indigo cultivation known as Blue Rebellion or the Indigo Revolt. The ryots, armed with spears, bows and arrows and swords, attacked the indigo factories and planters. The indigo ryots felt that they had the support of the local zamindars and village headmen in their rebellion against the planters. The Blue Rebellion was on 1859, that is, it began just 2 years after the Great Revolt of 1857 and it worried the British. Worried by the rebellion, the government brought in the military to protect the planters from assault and set up the Indigo Commission to inquire into the system of indigo production. The rebellion prompted the government to bring in the military to safeguard the planters and to set up the Indigo Commission to investigate further into the situation. After the revolt, indigo production collapsed in Bengal, but the planters shifted their operation to Bihar. With the discovery of synthetic dyes in the late 19th century, their business was severely affected. In 1917, Gandhiji visited Champaran in Bihar and, moved by the plight of the riots, initiated a movement against the indigo planters known as the Champaran movement. Now let's discuss the questions and answers related to this lesson.